Ethics. Should we care about the non-human world for its own sake or for how it serves human interests? A long-standing question in environmental ethics concerns how we value the non-human world. This relates to the Ecotypes theme of non-human versus human place. The ethics axis compares biocentrism and anthropocentrism as two quite different ways to care about the realm of the non-human. Let's look at either end of the spectrum. I believe that it's short-sighted for people to manage nature with only human interests in mind. We are people, so I think it's justifiable to value nature for how it serves human needs. Now, let's listen to some student anecdotes relating to the ethics axis.
Valuing nature in terms of its value to humans and just for the value of nature as its own sort of entity. I feel that's sort of a difficult question because I feel like those two aspects are related to each other in a lot of ways. There are a lot of things that in nature that I guess we don't really consider valuable. For example, you consider a beautiful like forest valley a valuable thing, but we don't consider something like smallpox a valuable thing. But those are both natural things. Valuing nature for the sake of nature itself, I feel it's also is for the sake of humans. I think it's important when we say valuing nature for the sake of nature to also consider that we are valuing it purely from our human point of view, even if we do think of it as the value of nature in itself. So I think it's impossible to sort of remove ourselves, remove our own biases from our understanding of value in that way. I mean, my answer is basically yes, that we should value nature for its own sake, but I don't know exactly how I would justify that answer. It's hard to justify it without essentially tying it back to human needs. For example, I think, for example, you could say that we should value nature for the sake of nature because it has a lot of biodiversity that could become useful for humans in the future, but I mean, that obviously ties back to human values.
So biocentrism and like the idea that nature shouldn't be treated as something that's here to help us and give things to us and be used by us. I think of it almost like an extension of the people around you and how you behave with them. Because if you go down like it's me and a person, like hypothetically, right? And I'm like, what can you give me right now? And they're like, that's our relationship. It's only what I can give you. Like, that isn't going to get me anything in the long run. That isn't sustainable because I will get things from them initially. And then when I don't give them anything back, I will stop getting things eventually. And then I will have no whatever they're giving me, right? Like, shoes, I don't know. I think of that idea that humans should only manage the earth or like the world or manage an ecosystem in a way that benefits us as both hubris, like it's like that's not like we're not the only species on this earth, like ethically it's weird to me, but also it doesn't I don't see it playing out long term. You have to put out enough. It has because like if you're thinking about an earth that is a closed ecosystem, if one group on that earth is just getting and getting and getting, which I think is what we're doing right now, we're just taking things in and not really putting anything out that is helpful except for like, yeah, nothing that's helpful really. The ecosystem kind of starts to, you see it happen. To me, everything about wild nature is valuable, even if it is not immediately useful to us, because I want it to still be there for my grandchildren, you know? And if you're like, but we could get some wood now, I'm like, I want that tree to be big and tall for future generations to look at. That is what is valuable to me more so than having wood right now. And then someone else goes, no. Let's not worry about what we can get from things all the time and worry more about what will be left. Like, what do we want to be left? What is valuable? Is valuable means like helping us now, or does valuable mean letting things last?
So on the ethics side, I am more extreme biocentric over anthropocentric. which means that I think that it's important for us to consider non-human species. I mean, for me, it just seems if you've ever like hung out with people who live closer to nature and you see squirrels and rabbits and animals around, like I think that maybe people are probably more biocentric than they would think, because I've never met anyone, even people who are like incredibly more anthropocentric. I've never met anyone who's like doesn't care about a bird or a squirrel or like a rabbit. And I think that we just kind of get lost in our own world of it. Or we don't know that much, because I think that like being anthropocentric just sort of eliminates our own willingness to acknowledge our reliance on the natural world. You could look at like, the loss of like bee populations and how that'll have a huge effect on our food. And as we like shift the climate and animals die, like that's also going to have a huge impact on like, again, our food system. So the idea of being fully anthropocentric is like, well, I need water. So like for me to care about whether or not a mussel dies matters, because that is anthropocentric in a way, because that's how I survive. But it's not just looking at one person or one group of people or one species. It's like the ecosystem is interconnected. So like I think that if I was talking to someone who is anthropocentric, I would say like you can be both, because both is required. Like you can be thinking about humans exclusively and still be able to acknowledge that humans require help.
Sometimes I feel like nature is best when it's left alone, and when it's altered too much by humans, it gets deteriorated. It's no longer nature, you know what I mean? I feel very neutral about biocentric and then anthropogenic, mostly because sometimes it's good when humans feed off nature, and yeah, it could benefit us a lot, food, different things, but also it sucks when we overdo it, because then now we're hurting it. And that's the part that I don't like, is now you're just doing it because it's benefiting you. Nature isn't benefiting from us using it. So pretty much nature is just being hurt if we're overusing it. And that's why I'm more in the middle, because I do believe like nature helps us and we help nature sometimes, but I have seen over and over how we also hurt it, and how we just use it out of human interest, and we're not managing forests, we're not managing how much we're using of things. And so that's why I feel like I'm more in the middle, because there's a lot of really complex um, relationships with nature, and that's why I just feel like sometimes it's best to leave it alone. Like we only make use of it like limited use, you know.
Tell me, where do your opinions lie on the ethics axis? Do you lean more towards a biocentric or anthropocentric view when approaching environmental problems? You can find out by taking the Ecotypes survey at ecotypes.us. It only takes a few minutes and will immediately give you comprehensive results about you. If you want to dive even deeper into Ecotypes, the website has more information, and there's even a book coming soon. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you gained something valuable from it. This Ecotypes video series is all unfunded work, so if you would like to support us and know of any further opportunities, please get in touch and engage with this video by liking, commenting, and subscribing. It really helps us out. So thank you so much, and stay curious.